Morning, Grand Tigers! As you can see, Moose is here today. I just wanted to first say, boys and girls, I miss you so much, and I hope that I'm going to be able to see you again soon. But I thought that I would read some Land of Stories. I wasn't able to get it from the classroom, but I found it online, and for free. So I'm also going to link for you this website that has all of the books that you can read online. So if you want to jump ahead, if you um, want to, read along with it as I'm reading on the YouTube video, you're more than welcome to. Another thing, keep checking back this Google Classroom every single day. Okay, check it in the mornings. That's pretty much when I will uh, post something. I will make sure that I read at least 2 chapters a day. All right. So it might look a little funny because I am reading this on my computer. Okay. I'm not reading the actual book. So if it looks like I'm just looking at the screen, it's because I'm reading off the screen. If you want, feel free, boys and girls, to send me emails. You can post here on the Google Classroom. All right. So before I start reading this next chapter, I want to do a quick little recap. So the last thing we read was where Bree was cleaning out her attic, and she found out that her grandma's cousin, her last name was Grimm, and now Bree is very concerned that, hey, maybe I actually am um, related to the Grimm brothers, which means, or it would explain why she was able to get through the portal with Connor and Emmerich without being stuck for 200 years. Then we started chapter 8, which is called The Only Objection. Now, I'm going to just restart this chapter because I think it would be kind of weird to start midway through. So, Moose, you can hear Moose in the background. I'm sure you'll see him jump up and whatnot. So, I'll read The Only Objection. This is chapter 8. If you have the book and you want to follow along, or if you want to follow along with the website that I'm going to give you the link for. Okay? So, the day of Red and Froggie's wedding finally arrived, and the newly christened Center Kingdom was in a daze of celebration. Despite the constant setbacks, Red managed to finish all the planning her perfect day required. And, thanks to a great amount of self-control on Goldilocks' part, Red had lived to see it. The former Hall of Progress had been transformed into a beautiful altar. 500 chairs had been set to face a pulpit on top of a large platform. Risers were built for a 200-piece symphony. A massive organ with pipes stretching into the high ceiling had been carefully constructed. Tall vases of pink, red, and white carnations were arranged and placed throughout the hall. White pillars and rosy silk drapes lined the walls. Goldilocks had spent the entire morning helping the castle servants put everything together and was very proud of their work. However, when Red arrived to make her final inspections, Goldilocks discovered that her true task as matron of honor wasn't just helping the bride, but protecting everyone from the bride. Red stormed into the Hall of Progress wearing nothing but a pink bathrobe and fuzzy slippers. She had curlers in her hair and no makeup on. Her eyes were much larger than usual, and a scowl was frozen on her face. She had never looked so anxious. "This is wrong. It's all wrong," Red yelled. "The chairs are too close together. The women's dresses will get caught. The pulpit is too far away. I'm getting married, not making a pilgrimage. Tell all the musicians they are not allowed to eat any of the food. The caterers only had time to prepare enough for the guests. The pillars and drapes need to match. This place looks like a giant rib cage." Red didn't even look at anything long enough to properly see it. She flung her arms around, yelling and pointing at anything she could. "Red, this is exactly as you planned it," Goldilocks said. "You need to calm down." "Please tell me that's not what you're wearing to the wedding," Red hollered, targeting Goldilocks next. No, I'm wearing something much uglier that you chose for me, Goldilocks said. Remember the pink dress with the puffy shoulders? Red wasn't listening to a word she said. She began pacing and mumbling to herself. Did you sleep last night? Goldilocks asked. Sleep? How was I supposed to sleep when there's so much to do? Red asked. Wait, are you saying I look puffy? Oh God, I look puffy! The wedding is canceled. Everyone go home. Goldilocks removed the flowers from the nearest vase and dumped the water over Red's head to cool her off. The bride-to-be screamed. That's just Moose and his toy. Listen to me very carefully, Goldilocks said, and leaned threateningly close to her. Everything in this building is exactly how you wanted it to be. You're just having pre-wedding jitters. There is nothing you need to fix or adjust. What you need to do is go back to the castle and start getting ready and enjoy the day. Because if I hear one more complaint from you, this wedding will turn into your funeral. Is that clear? Red frowned, her jaw trembled, and she nodded slowly. Yes. She turned to face the rest of the room. My apologies, everyone. Well done. As a reward for your efforts, I'd like to invite you all to the reception at the castle following the ceremony. Just don't eat anything. However, Red wasn't the only one feeling pre-wedding jitters. Froggie, Connor, and Jack were dressed up in nice suits and kept one another company in the library of the castle while they waited for the ceremony to start. Froggie stood motionless at the window. He stared out at the kingdom and watched as the citizens lined the streets. They were bubbling with excitement and anticipation, hopeful for a glimpse of the royal wedding. It's funny how times change, Froggie said softly. 4 years ago, I was living in a hole, afraid that if I showed my face to the world, it would hate and fear me. I never thought love was an option for me. Now here I am, the elected king of a kingdom, about to marry one of the most beautiful women in the world. And she's technically the one who proposed. If there's one thing life is good at, it's surprising you, Jack said. And sometimes it surprises you in the best ways. Connor was sitting in an armchair, staring at the floor, oblivious to what they were saying. His mind was still fixated on their search for his sister and the masked man. He quickly looked up when the room went quiet. I'm sorry, what did you say? Connor asked. He was supposed to be Froggie's best man, and so far he was failing at it. Just an observation, nothing important, Froggie said. He gulped and loosened his collar. Why does everyone rethink their decision to get married on the day of their wedding? I've been fine with the idea for months, but only now do I feel like I'm getting cold feet. Connor laughed. But, Froggie, you're an amphibian. Your feet are always cold. Froggie turned to him and smiled. It was a nice way of putting things into perspective. There was a knock on the door, and the third little pig poked his head into the library. Your Majesty, the former and future queen is almost ready. The ceremony will begin shortly. Jack patted Froggie on the back. This is it. Are you ready? Ready as I'll ever be, Froggie said. Gentlemen, please join me in my last steps as a bachelor. They followed him out of the library, but Connor lingered in the doorway. A bad feeling grew in the pit of his stomach, and he looked back at the empty library. It felt as if he was forgetting something. He couldn't figure out what it was. I'm trying to read to my kiddos. Okay? How about you go over there? He didn't want to keep the others waiting, so he caught up with them, but the feeling stayed with him. Perhaps he was just having jitters of his own. Meanwhile, in Red's chambers, the bride-to-be was taking an impossibly long time to put on her wedding dress. Boys and girls, I'm sorry. Moose just wants to play. No. How about you go lay down? Go lay down over there. Goldilocks tried fussing with the sleeves of her matron of honor dress as she waited, but there was only so much she could do. Hurry up, Red, Goldilocks instructed. You don't want to be late to your own wedding. Perfection can't be rushed, Red called out from her changing room. As if Red were wrestling a giant fabric monster, Goldilocks heard rustling and tussling from the changing room as Red's handmaiden struggled to get the dress on her. When the handmaiden stepped out of the changing room, her face was so flushed she looked like she had run a marathon. What a dress! the handmaiden said. She was going to have nightmares about it for the rest of her life. Come on, Red, Goldilocks said. I'm dying to see it. The wedding dress was so massive, the front of it emerged from the changing room a few moments before Red followed behind. It was a white mountain of ruffles and lace, lined with red trim and covered in ridiculous red bows. The veil was messy and exploded from the top of Red's head like a volcano. Goldilocks was speechless, and not in a good way. Claudius leaped from his bed and barked at the dress as if it were a wild beast. Well, what do you think? Red asked with a hopeful smile. Well, you said you wanted the wedding to be a spectacle, right? Goldilocks said. Red marched across her chambers to the mirror and had a look for herself. Judging from her reaction, the dress wasn't at all what she had expected. I looked like a blizzard, Red gasped. I don't understand. It looks so pretty in Granny's sketch. You didn't try it on beforehand? Goldilocks asked. I didn't have time, Red said. I was too busy helping the twins find the masked man. Maybe there's a way to simplify it? Goldilocks suggested. The handmaiden hooted. It's so tightly stitched, it would take hours to alter it. She might be better off walking down the aisle naked. Red had a massive panic attack. She walked around in circles and fanned her tears with her hands so her makeup wouldn't run. As far as she was concerned, the wedding was ruined. Maybe I can help? Said a familiar voice. They all turned to see Alex standing behind them. None of them noticed when she appeared. Claudius charged forward to pounce on her, his traditional way of greeting someone he liked, but Alex waved her wand and the wolf froze in midair. Despite being suspended, he still managed to lick the side of her face. Alex, Goldilocks said, and gave her a hug. You had all of us so worried. Thank goodness you're all right. Well, I've been better, Alex said. Red cleared her throat. Excuse me, she said, redirecting their attention. Alex, it's nice to see you, but I'm in the middle of a wedding crisis. I could use a fairy's touch. I think you need more than that, Goldilocks laughed. Can you help me or not? Red yelled. Seeing Red in such a frantic state made Alex forget about her own problems, but she was hesitant to help her. I don't know if I should, Alex said. You saw what I did to the Fairy Council. My powers have a mind of their own. There's no telling what I might do to you. Red had never looked so desperate. I don't care if you turn me into a big ball of fire and lightning, she said. Even that would look much better than this dress. All right, Alex shrugged. But I'm going to need your help, Red. I can supply the magic, but you'll need to focus. Think of exactly how you want your wedding dress to look, what you want Froggie to see walking down the aisle toward him. Red nodded and closed her eyes. Alex extended her hands toward her, and light began swirling around the hideous dress. Red concentrated as hard as she could, thinking about the dress she had always dreamed of getting married in. Oh my word, Goldilocks gasped and covered her mouth. I've never seen such a gorgeous thing in my life, the handmaiden said. Red refaced the mirror to see for herself. She went into shock because of how stunning it was. The fabric was so soft and fluffy, the dress looked like a cloud. Appropriately, a hood had replaced the veil, and it turned into a long train that flowed down Red's back and onto the floor. The whole dress twinkled like a starry sky. I think it needs one more thing, Alex said. She snapped her fingers, and rather than a traditional bouquet, a basket of flowers appeared in her hand. I look beautiful, Red whispered. For the first time that day, her eyes filled with tears of joy. Thank you so much for coming, Alex. It means the world to me. At first, Alex was planning to avoid Red's wedding altogether, not wanting to create a scene or cause any more damage. But seeing how happy Red was on her wedding day made Alex ashamed to have even thought about missing it. I just wish I could see the ceremony, Alex said, but I'll probably cause a major fuss if I step onto the altar. Oh, that shouldn't be a problem, Red said. The organ isn't real. It's a little secret room. I had them build it just in case any of my friends were on the run and didn't want to be seen. Alex and Goldilocks shared moves. I can't play right now, honey. Alex and Goldilocks shared a quick look. Had they heard her correctly? You were planning on one of us being on the run? Goldilocks asked. Are you new? Red asked. One of us is always in trouble or running from something or someone. It's just a given in our group. So I planned for it. Okay, boys and girls, this is why we can't. We should get going, your former and future highness, the handmaiden said. Claudius whined. He was still frozen in the air. Alex waved her hand and he landed on the ground. Okay, okay, Moose. You are like a baby. Okay, I'll throw it once. Boys and girls, do you see it's his moose toy? It's his favorite toy. Okay. Claudius whined. He was still frozen in the air. Alex waved her hand and he landed on the ground. Boys and girls, just 1 second. My Roomba is about to go. Okay. Hopefully no more distractions. I'm very sorry. I'll read that part again. Claudius whined. He was still frozen in the air. Alex waved her hand and he landed on the ground. Sorry, Claudius, you're staying in the castle until you learn the difference between children and chew toys, Red said. It's a long story, but thank goodness we got there in time. Red had one last look at herself in the mirror and headed for the door. The handmaiden helped Red through the doorway, making sure her dress didn't snag on anything. The dress was hard to walk in, so Goldilocks pulled Alex aside while they let Red get a head start. Have you talked to your brother? Goldilocks asked. I don't want to talk to my brother, Alex said. She was still upset he hadn't come to her defense at the fairy palace. Well, what he has to say might surprise you, Goldilocks said. We found out some more information about the masked man. What did you find? Alex asked. The potion he stole from the fairy palace is something your grandmother invented when your father was a boy, she said. It turns any written work into a portal to whatever world it describes. Knowing what he told the witches, we think he's going to use the potion to recruit an army from a collection of books your grandmother used to own. What? Alex asked. She knew the potion must have been powerful, but she had no idea such a thing was even possible. What kind of books is he after then? We were hoping you would know, she said. Can you think of anything off the top of your head? Alex thought about it as hard as she could, but the only books she remembered her grandmother having were spell books. I can't think of anything, Alex said. But regardless of what books he's after, we won't be able to stop him unless we know where he is. Goldilocks nodded. We'll find him much faster if we work together again. I know, Alex said. But after what I did to the Fairy Council, I'm afraid to be around you guys. I couldn't live with myself if I ever lost control and hurt one of you. Goldilocks put her hands on Alex's shoulders and looked directly into her eyes. Alex, for the last 6 months, I have been at the mercy of raging hormones, she said. Okay. 1 minute, I'm devastated, then the next, I'm obnoxiously happy. I'm either overly sympathetic or vengefully spiteful, but never anywhere between. Yesterday, Jack told me I looked beautiful and I punched him. Why are you telling me this? Alex asked. Because I know what it's like not being in control of your emotions, Goldilocks clarified. And if I can get through today without killing Red, I have no doubt that you can learn to control yourself too. Okay, Moose. Alex appreciated Goldilocks' faith. I'll work on it. Yoo-hoo! Red sang from the hall. Come on, it's showtime! Red and Goldilocks headed out of Red's chambers and followed the happy bride down the hallway. Are you excited, Red? Alex asked. Honestly, Red said, I never thought I could be this happy. Who would have thought marrying a frog would bring me so much joy? All right, boys and girls, that's a pause in the chapter. I haven't read the entire chapter, but I am going to upload this now, and I'll finish the chapter right after this because I want to make sure that it uploads correctly. So I hope you enjoyed that first half of the chapter, and look back for the next YouTube video I'm going to post for the second half of the chapter. And I will make sure I label the YouTube videos like number 1, number 2, so that you're able to make sure you watch them in order. Did you ever think your teacher would become a YouTuber? Are you proud of me? So I really hope you enjoyed that. I hope Moose wasn't too loud in the video. I'll try and fine tune things, and maybe I'll have to find a different spot to film if he's gonna be jealous. All right. I miss you guys so much, and I can't wait to hear back from some of you. Bye, guys.